Just 2 weeks ago, I was in Dar es Salaam for a conference, and in our meeting room we had plastic bottles, and it had the caption, water from Kilimanjaro. All right, so at one bored moment I took it and I just read it, and it says the water is taken at source from the melting of the snow on Kilimanjaro. And then when I went on to read, it said tapped at source and patented by Coca-Cola. So even Kilimanjaro water is owned and patented by Coca-Cola. That's first the point that I want to make. I think if you want to talk, we don't need to convince each other. This is the only earth we have. The population is growing. We need resources to survive. We need to share the resources in equality. And we need to also be responsible stewards, whether from a human perspective, but more so from a religious perspective, because our religions say we must take care of what God has given us and this beautiful earth. So that's the first point. I think if we want to engage with issues of nature, we have to be briefed and we have to do that investigative work. All right? Who is controlling our resources? Who is benefiting from our resources? And to what end all that money made or whatever profits made and all that is serving which sector of society? We have now in Malaysia Formula 1, all right? So Malaysia is on the map, exciting, wow, everything is there, all right? I think we need to do some investigation. It's well and good, right? But does it serve all the issues that we are raising with regard to the responsible use of resources in our country? The second point, you know, I attended one lobby conference, anti-nuclear, and this was organized by the World Council of Churches, and I was invited because many in the World Council of Churches was impressed that Malaysia was one of the strongest voices for anti-nuclear. Did you all know that? In the UN. And they are signatories to the NPT, Non-Proliferation Treaty for Nuclear. So that was one of the few occasions where I was proud to be there and, with the Malaysian delegation to advocate and to try to influence for more stringent measures to be placed for all nations so that there's a non-proliferation of nuclear technology, weapons and everything. But you mentioned the word Linus, and it raises a fundamental question. I had from the National Council of Churches, we made contact with the National Council of Churches of Australia. And this was not the only occasion we made contact with them. We made that contact also when there was this proposal for a refugee swap. Remember? They sent this. So we said, as a National Council of Australia, what do you have to say? And they gave us a surprising answer, not in accordance with the official position of their government. Because there were faith issues, convictions, and human rights issues that were involved. And same with the Linus, they said, the response we got from the National Council is, we are not happy, and we do not want to see our country as an exporter of such technology to other countries and make them vulnerable. So, it doesn't mean that the matter is solved by that, but it only shows to us that there are differing points of view. And it is only right that civil society, along with religious groups, raise their concerns and show to those who are in power, because the ones who is going to benefit, actually, you have asked that question, the one who is going to finally benefit is that company that is going to engage in that. And that in the name of bringing progress and development. But in the long-term measure, whether it will serve the interest. And consummate to that, how much more effort is Malaysia making for renewable energy, for alternative sources of energy? And why there is no excitement, just as there's a Formula One where there's world attention, why not we have a alternative use of energy world convention in Malaysia that will bring attention to this country as being in the forefront. And this is where you see then that somehow there is a disconnect and there's a disparity, and somehow words are used very casually, but there is no real grounding of this. Sisters and brothers, I think we are at the 11th hour as far as the question of climate change and all the challenges that come with it. We in the churches have encouraged the voice of the vulnerable, especially those in the Pacific Islands, those in Japan and many other places and all that, where there are farmers, where they are affected by climate changes, and brought that issue into the whole question about climate justice. There can be no responsible stewardship of all nature's resources if there is no restorative justice for humanity's use of resources and for nature to have time to replenish itself. You break this, you manipulate this, you are playing with the design of God's creation. And we will have nobody else to blame when the consequences come about, as we are seeing now in many places of the world, that we have failed as religious people to champion the issue enough.
Okay, Brother Surendran with the last word, and then we will open up for questions and answers from the floor. But you can, yeah.
Thank you. No, I don't know how to talk about Linus and leave the politics out of it, but I'll try. Look, the Linus issue is about this. It's about listening to the people, listening to the residents, looking at what's in the best interest of the people of Gebeng and Kuantan and Pahang in the country, and doing things consistent with that. And Linus issue is not just the Linus issue. This kind it's also related to the slashing and burning of our forests, the flattening of hills, the and other types of depredations of the environment simply in order to profit. And this is something that the government in power now has been doing with no compunction at all. And I'm not saying this is the only government that does it. I think it's a practice that spreads around the world. Too many governments do this. Too many countries suffer this. So the environment is in this state. And let's please not also forget the industrial farming of animals, the suffering of animals, which is also an environmental issue, which is often forgotten. But coming back to Linus, and this is what we talk about, the answer to this kind of situation is empowering people. People have to be empowered to stand up and fight for their rights. And that is what the people of Gebeng have been doing now. Because a month ago there was this huge demonstration of the people's resolve to be done with this Linus, to never let the Linus plant come into operation. You had thousands of people, young, old, who marched in order to ensure that this plant never comes into operation. Now, you talk about faith, religion, spirituality. Yes, if, of course, the politicians pay attention to that, naturally they will not destroy the environment. Our biggest problem is nobody pays attention. You've got all the politicians, most of whom say that they profess some faith or the other, who many of them, of course, attend religious prayers, sessions, go to church, mosque, whatever it is, temples. And then when they step into their political persona, they go clean out of their mind. Then they become something else. And they just do things according to their whims and fancies and whatever profits them, profits the party, or whichever they think is right, without taking into consideration what is really objectively right. What is the correct thing to do, what is the good thing to do. And that's the problem that we have. So, just now someone said that, look, politics is about power, about taking power. I agree. Politics is about taking power. I will admit right now, I want to take power in the coming general election. We want to win and we want to take over government. Yes, I admit it. But why? We've got to go one step further. Let's not descend into stereotypes. One step further. Why do we want to take power? We want to take power in order to put an end to every kind of oppressive law. We want to take power in order to bring the principle of justice into governance. We want to get rid of oppression. We want to bring fairness into the law, into the justice system. Get rid of detentions without trial. Get rid of laws that oppress people. Get rid of laws that prevent people from speaking out. That is the aim of taking power for me. And it cannot be done unless one is able to take power. If we are to realize these aims, one has to be able to get rid of the other guy, take power, do the right thing, then if you misbehave, out you go. And then the other chap comes back in. Now that's the best way that we know to rule. And so that's the thing. Now, we talk about empowering people. I mean, it's easy to talk, but it's a difficult thing. We've been trying to do this for a very long time, for years. Migrant workers, squatters, people from the working class who become victims of the security forces, of the police. How do you empower these people? It's tough, it's slow, it means going down, getting dirty and working with them. We've done that. But at the same time, the best way to empower people is to make sure those institutions that are rotten are reformed. Take it, grab those institutions back, force them to change. And once the institutions change, people will become more empowered because they will no more be oppressed. And this is also in line with what every faith teaches. It may seem idealistic. I may not even sound like a politician now. But
yes, you do.
But that is the aim of politics for me. Because if you cannot get together in a group, come up with ideas to improve, politics is about getting together in a group, coming up with real, concrete, comprehensive plans to bring about change to the society or the country that you're in, and implementing it. And no doubt there will be some corrupt people, some who are there just to get power, some who wish to become grandiose. No doubt there's that. But those are the people we've got to weed out. And it's not a perfect solution, it's not a perfect world, but in our own imperfect way, I think that kind of change can be brought if only we can get people to do the right thing as often as they can, tough as that may seem. Thanks.